Hello, Mr. George Salazar. We are happy to have you again with us this year at the Future Innovation Summit. Can you first introduce yourself, please, if you'd like, for the... Yeah, we can hear you, definitely.
Okay, good. I was having an internet problem this morning, and it's always a challenge sometimes working with internet. So anyway, be that as it may, thank you for having me here.
Yeah, George, can you explain what you do at NASA, please?
What do I do at NASA?
Yeah.
Okay. So, sorry, there's a little bit of delay in the voice communication. Sorry about that. So what do I do at NASA? I mean, currently I am the Human-Computer Interface Technical Discipline Lead. What does that mean? That means that I'm involved with and kind of responsible for a lot of the human interfaces that are associated with spacecraft, especially human-rated spacecraft, space station. Currently, right now, my main focus is commercial crew program working with SpaceX. I was involved with the development in developing the touchscreen, which is almost ever used in the eating up a lot of my time. It is working with the system. This is part of the Artemis Program, Apollo program that we had back in the 60s, is to return to the moon, but not just return to the moon, but return to the moon and stay. And the reason for returning to the moon and stay is because that's going to be the direct rehearsal of the proving ground for developing the technology necessary to take us to Mars and beyond. Once we go to Mars, it's going to be a whole new ballgame in terms of how to develop systems that are going to help astronauts, because we can no longer depend on mission control in Houston as well as other parts of the world. They're going to have to depend on themselves. So artificial intelligence, machine learning, all these key elements are going to be necessary in order for them to be successful in their future missions. So my role is ensuring that the human-computer interface, whether it's lighting, audio, imagery, both scale and motion, as well as, more important, when crew controls are developed properly.
Interesting. Wow, that's impressive. I would like to ask you, what was your biggest challenge working at NASA?
Biggest challenge for NASA, I think, is sometimes having to learn something new. And I have to say that it's, both sides of the coin. It can be challenging, but also fun. I enjoy learning, and so taking on new experiences, and I have taken on many new experiences over the years. And that's the way a person grows, is to go outside of what we call the comfort zone, right? Is to expand your knowledge. And so the challenges over the years at NASA has been undertaking increased complexity project and learning how to handle them, how to work in a newer, let's call it a newer complex world. So I have to say that the biggest challenge is taking on a new project and hoping to be successful in learning it in time to meet schedule.
You must be proud, definitely. We'd like you to explain, please, the Artemis program to our audience with us today. The Artemis program.
So the Artemis program, okay, Artemis program. Artemis program is, as I think I mentioned previously, is kind of equivalent to the Apollo space program back in the 60s, going to the moon. But unlike the Apollo program, we are returning to the moon and staying there. So the Artemis program is made up of different elements. Some of the key elements is the lunar gateway. So the lunar gateway is the equivalent of the International Space Station. It's going to be an orbiting orbiting station around the moon. So that way that the astronauts, when they land using the human lander system, they can come back up and go into the gateway and then basically, live there for a period of time and go back to the moon and then come back up. Also, another key element is the Orion spacecraft. The Orion spacecraft hopefully it launches on November 17th on the Space Launch System. It's a particular spacecraft was designed for deep space applications, and so the Orion is the one that's going to take eventually astronauts to Mars. But for the moon, it's going to be a dress rehearsal for how to operate complex systems like the Orion spacecraft, the human lander system. The Orion spacecraft docks with the human lander system, and then the astronauts inside the Orion go over to the different lander system, and then they basically come back, go to the moon. There's where they're going to be doing investigative work, research work, scientific investigations on the moon. And then when it's time to come back up, they'll go back up. That's only in the short term. Eventually, working with commercial partners as well as international partners, we're going to be establishing a infrastructure on the moon, so that way the astronauts can live on the moon for a long period of time. And that's going to take quite a bit of effort because we have to learn how to live on another planet without having to depend on resupply from Earth. Right now, the space station has the luxury of getting resupplies from the Earth, and it only takes about a day or less sometimes to get those resupplies. When we go to the moon, it's about days, 3 days, not too bad. When we go to Mars, we're talking months before they get a resupply. So we're going to have to learn what that infrastructure is going to be on the moon in order for them to develop the technology, develop the methods, develop the operational procedures for living and working on another planet.
Yeah, that must be very challenging. Talking about challenges, I'd like to ask you what challenges must we overcome to permit settling other worlds?
To go to other worlds, okay, so there's actually two kinds of challenges that we're talking about here. There's the challenge of keeping humans and healthy in terms of not only physically, but also mentally. So physically, there's a lot of challenges going to another world. Like, for example, obviously the moon has no atmosphere. It has no magnetic field. Same thing, well, to some extent, Mars has a very weak magnetic, as well as a very small atmosphere. We're very fortunate here on Earth to have an Earth magnetic field because it detects from the high doses of radiation that are flow intergalactic. And so that high doses of radiation can affect us in terms of getting cancer. And then there's another aspect associated with high doses of radiation. It basically affects the central nervous system of an astronaut, which basically makes their cognitive abilities less and less, or not as, excuse me, the cognitive abilities are declining. So it's like thinking, looking at things, situational awareness around them gets worse and worse. And so those kind of things we have to be cautious about, especially when we're designing systems that maybe the astronaut is not up to physical abilities and mental abilities to do that. Being away from home, being away from family, it's going to be mentally challenging for the astronaut. So how do we keep them active and healthy, more so in the mental health, for ensuring that they're going to be successful in their mission. Now, switching over to the other largest technology, there's just so many to discuss here. I have to say that, let me just kind of cut through key ones. One of them is power. Supplying power to, say, a base station on the moon with 5 astronauts, it's going to take quite a bit of power. And so, how do we do that? Well, you can somewhat, depend on solar panels, Earth, being close to the Earth and obviously the sun. But and if I'm going to Mars, the amount of sun radiation, radiant energy decreases by 1 over r squared. And so solar panel is maybe one option, but it's not really the best option. And of course, you got to worry about storms on the moon, or rather like Mars, and even to some extent on the moon. And of course, the moon does it just horrible, like jaggedy blast. So the technology challenges of power are going to be one. Of course, we're looking at nuclear power. The other challenge is medical. Okay, so the whole aspect of medical is something of a big concern. So, here on Earth, we go to a hospital, let's say in emergency, they do x-rays on you, MRIs and all that. Well, those machines were not intended in the space environment. So how can we develop machines like that can go into deep space and can handle the radiation environment? And that's obviously something going to be a biggie. Robotic operations, with a sick astronaut may have to have an emergency appendectomy or heart surgery or whatever. How do we do that being remote? So the other part of all this technology is the communications, and that's something that it's quite challenging. The transmission rate between Earth and Mars is somewhere in the vicinity of 40 megabits per second. So it's not a whole lot of data that can be transmitted compared to what we do here on Earth. So the challenge to develop the technology that we can increase the transmission rate for things for communicating with loved ones, back on Earth, that doesn't take as long. And right now, if they do a conversation, the best they can do is 20 minutes to 40 minutes round trip time for communication. So, I say here on Earth, hello, and then the person on Mars hear hello maybe 20 minutes later, depending on the location of Earth and Mars. So that kind of communication just doesn't work well. So we have to find better ways of communicating. And of course, the bigger one is how do we develop technology for live off another planet? Okay? So there's something called in situ resource utilization that basically put dirt in and out into water and fuel for rockets. And I'm saying this simplistically, it's a major challenge, but that's another area is developing technology for astronauts for living on another planet. So you've got keeping the physically and mentally alert, but also the technology challenges.
George, thank you for your valuable information. We can't get enough of what you're sharing with us today. Unfortunately, our time is up. We want to thank you so much for joining us. And we're looking forward for our first version for the Future Innovation Summit to have you with us again. Thanks you again. Thanks a lot.